A very good day I wish to all of you. My name is JONG, your acting moderator for today's forum. As well, we know pharmaceutical pollution is a big issue which enables us to think about the topics that we have highlighted, and we are trying to solve the issues together by sharing beneficial and interesting ideas. Today, we would like to discuss on the factors and effects of pharmaceutical pollution on environment, and also to the ways to solve this issue. Our first panelist is Dr. KUEH, President of National Environmental Protection Club. Next to her is our specialist panel two, Dr. Lee Pei, President of Department of Community and Education. And also we have Dr. CELINE SHAN, Counselor in Child and Psychology Center. Before we start our forum in details, let me explain about our topic today. In recent years, there has been an increasing amount of literature on pharmaceutical pollution. Through the unearthing in aquatic and terrestrial environments, it shows that there are more than 200 different pharmaceutical agents that have been identified, such as antibiotics, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and drugs from other therapeutic groups. According to the research, pharmaceuticals have been developed in the field of medicine, veterinary, and agriculture. As a result, the production of drugs is increasing alarmingly to coordinate the enormous and global use of medication. Active pharmaceutical ingredients exhibit that the increasing concentrations of drugs have been detected on the surface of soil. Pharmaceutical pollution has occurred without monitoring the production of emerging pollutants, and it affects the health of humans and unbalance the ecosystem. Without wasting time, let's hear the opinion on our title from the first invited panel one.
Thank you, Miss JENICE, as our moderator today. So for our first title, I will talk about the factor that cause the pharmaceutical pollution. There are three factors that cause the pharmaceutical pollution will be mentioned today. The first factor that causes the pharmaceutical pollution is the pharmaceutical residue from patients that are introduced into the sewage disposal system and flow into the wastewater. The amount of pharmaceutical residues excreted will increase as medical development advances and more drugs are used to treat chronic disease. Active pharmaceutical ingredients are drug components that can enter the human body to treat disease, but they still remain unaltered as the same compound or derivative of other compound. The pharmaceutical residue will then enter the sewage disposal system via human excretion and end up in the wastewater and river, causing the pharmaceutical pollution. Next, the second factor that causes the pharmaceutical pollution is that pharmaceutical residue cannot be removed from wastewater during treatment. Wastewater treatment plants usually remove the particles and any possible pathogens. Hence, the pharmaceutical residues in the sludge from primary treatment will be recycled for agriculture, causing the plant to be polluted by pharmaceutical residue. Also, the concentration of APIs will also rise because of the conversion of metabolites to the parent drug in secondary treatment, which will pollute the water cycle. Lastly, the improper disposal of unused and expired medication is also a factor in pharmaceutical pollution due to some factors like patient non-compliance, doctor overprescribing, or institutional procedure. The amount of extra and expired drugs will increase. The majority of citizens are unaware of proper medication disposal and discard it in the trash. As a result, the improper dump medication left at the landfill will seep into the soil and contaminate the groundwater for as long as the water cycle.
Okay, thank you, Dr. KUEH, for your explanation. We understand there are a lot of factors that bring huge impact to pharmaceutical pollution. So let's move to Dr. Lee. What is your opinion about the effects of pharmaceutical pollution?
Thank you, Ms. Jong, for moderating the session. Good evening to all the panelists. Research shows that over 50% of the world's sewage was disposed directly to a dumping site. and the contaminants contains unattenuated drugs. The pollutants will then reach surface water, soils, groundwater, sediments, and even drinking water. So, this will affect the aquatic habitat and the soil quality. The pH, nutrient content, and soil biodiversity will be altered. Do you ever think what will happen when there is no earthworms in the soil? The compact soil will affect the growth of rows of soil as filters and available water capacity in the soil. Next, pharmaceutical pollutions will threaten the wildlife's health. The animals might consume the food which are contaminated by drugs. This will cause the prey population to decrease, and when prey, the food decrease, the predators will also decrease, and in long term, it will lead to a broader food web population and ecosystem effects. In addition, the antibiotic or supplement residues will provide ideal environment for the bacteria to develop and transfer antibiotic-resistant genes. And these antibiotic-resistant bacteria will be a big challenge to treat, and they will be very dangerous to animals, plants, and humans. In long term, the pharmaceutical pollution will even worsen the air pollution and climate change. Most of the developing countries still practicing open burning where the waste is not segregated at all. The burning of pharmaceutical waste will release hazardous substances like heavy metals, like lead and mercury, and highly toxic pollutants like dioxins, as about a quarter of the pharmaceutical waste is made out of plastic. The poisonous substances can cause cancer, organ failures, and birth defects. In addition, the pharmaceutical industry has released significantly more greenhouse gases than automotive industry. This situation not only risks the life of human, flora, and fauna, but will also destroy the natural habitats.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lin. There were a few great points to be said. Dr. Celine, what do you think that we can do to reduce the impacts of this pharmaceutical pollution?
Thank you to my moderator and good evening to all the panelists. So based on today's topic, I would like to share a few ways that are able to cope the pharmaceutical pollution. We know most medicines and drugs are not easily able to get rid of the water and sewage treatment plants. Nowadays, we have a new technology require a high amount of cost operation used to remove the drug with a chemical activation. For example, elevation carbon adsorption is the adsorption process using a solid to remove a soluble substance from the water and another advanced oxidation process is designed to remove organic that use electromagnetic radiations. Some countries are starting to execute a program to control usage of medicines and reverse logistics. The consumer played important roles to bring the expired or unused drugs to the collection point will be collected by logistics to get all the drugs to the appropriate destination. Education of the disposal of unused drugs consider a significant barrier to implementations of pharmaceutical in factories. For instance, the drugs industry has advertising campaign to educate about environmental problems and the appropriate way to dispose of irrational drugs use. And lastly, solvent waste recycle is one of the way to reduce the water disposal and the solvent, and it is less expensive compared to the new technology. The process will involve solvent waste recycling, includes distillation, fractionation, and filtering of the solvent recovery from the concentrated waste site.
Thank you, Dr. Celine. Now we know that what are the factors, effects, and solutions about the pharmaceutical pollution. Pharmaceutical pollution have become an issue which every individual should give attention to. Finally, we have come to the end of our forum for tonight, where we share a lot of knowledge which we don't even know more. I would like to thank again to our panelists to share the greatest ideas for this forum. Thank you.